Have you ever felt a strange pull in your heart, as if someone you have never met before somehow needed you? Not because they were asking for money, not because they were asking for attention, but because deep inside you could feel their loneliness reaching across the distance between you. Tonight I need to tell you something that I have never spoken about this way before. It is not easy for a mother to admit when her child is struggling. Most mothers hide their worries behind a smile. We tell the world everything is fine. We protect our children even when they are grown. We carry our fears quietly, and hope nobody notices the weight we are carrying. But tonight, I cannot do that, because my son is in trouble. And no, not the kind of trouble people will talk about in newspapers or online videos. Not the kind of trouble that can be solved with money, influence or success. This is a different kind of trouble. The kind that enters a person's heart when they have spent too many years building things for the world, while quietly forgetting to build a place where they can rest their own soul. And before I tell you more, may I ask you something from the bottom of my heart? If these words touch you, please take a moment to like this video, so I know I am not speaking alone tonight. Subscribe if you believe love still matters, in a world that often feels cold and hurried. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and what time it is where you are right now. Share this message with someone you love, because sometimes one conversation can change a life. And as you listen, I hope you will stay with me until the very end, because there is something important I want to ask you. You see, when people look at my son, they often see a man who is fearless, a man who keeps moving forward, no matter how difficult the road becomes. They see determination, they see confidence, they see ambition. What they do not always see is the human being underneath all of that. They do not see the moments when the cameras are gone. They do not see the silence. They do not see the nights when a person sits alone with their thoughts. And they certainly do not see the part of a mother's heart that worries about whether her son is truly happy. Tell me honestly, have you ever looked around a crowded room and still felt alone? Have you ever achieved something important, only to realize there was nobody beside you with whom you could fully share the moment? Have you ever wished that someone would look beyond your accomplishments and simply see you? I think many women understand that feeling better than anyone, especially women who have spent decades loving others, women who raised children, women who stood beside husbands, women who sacrificed their own dreams so that someone else could pursue theirs, women who learned that love is not always grand gestures. Sometimes love is simply staying. Sometimes love is understanding. Sometimes love is seeing a person's pain before they even speak about it. As a mother, I have spent many years watching my son move through life. I have watched him succeed. I have watched him fail. I have watched him stand back up after moments that would have broken many people. And through all of those years, one thought has remained in my heart. Who will truly love him? Not his name. Not his success. Not the stories people tell about him. Who will love the person underneath all of it? Because every mother wants that for her child. Every mother hopes there is someone out there who will understand what the rest of the world misses. When my son was younger, I often wondered what kind of woman would one day walk beside him through life. Would she be patient? Would she be kind? Would she understand that strong people need love too? Would she recognize that behind determination there is often vulnerability? Would she know how to bring peace into a life that is constantly moving? These are the questions that stay with a mother, and perhaps that is why I am speaking to you tonight. Because lately, I have found myself thinking about those questions more than ever. You see, the trouble my son is facing is not visible. There are no headlines about it. There are no dramatic announcements. But a mother's heart notices things. A mother's heart notices exhaustion. A mother's heart notices loneliness. A mother's heart notices when someone keeps carrying the world on their shoulders without allowing anyone to help carry the weight. And that is what worries me. Not because he is weak, but because he has been strong for so long. Tell me something. When was the last time someone took care of you? Not because they needed something from you. Not because they expected something in return. But simply because they loved you. Think about that for a moment. Because I believe many people are walking through life hungry for that kind of love. A love that feels safe. A love that feels calm. A love that says, you do not have to earn my affection. You already have it. The older I become, the more I realize that love is not about perfection. It is not about appearances. It is not about saying all the right things. Love is about choosing someone over and over again, even on ordinary days, even during difficult seasons, even when life becomes complicated, and perhaps that is what concerns me most. The world has become very good at celebrating achievement, but it has forgotten how important companionship really is. People chase success, people chase recognition, people chase goals, yet at the end of the day, most hearts are searching for the same thing. Someone who understands them, someone who listens, someone who stays. Do you agree? Or do you think love means something different today than it did years ago? I would genuinely love to know your thoughts, because these conversations matter. The truth is, I am not worried about whether my son can build extraordinary things. He already has. I am not worried about whether he can overcome obstacles. He has done that many times. I am worried about something much simpler. I am worried about whether there is someone who will gently remind him that he does not have to carry every burden alone. Someone who will sit beside him during quiet evenings. Someone who will make him laugh when life becomes heavy. Someone who will see the tiredness behind the smile and say, "You can rest now. I'm here." Perhaps that sounds old-fashioned. Maybe it is. But I believe the greatest gift one person can give another is not admiration. It is presence. And lately I cannot stop wondering if somewhere out there is a woman watching these words who understands exactly what I mean. A woman who knows that love is not about taking. It is about giving. A woman who knows that loyalty still matters. A woman who understands that two people can help heal parts of each other that the world never sees. Because the story I need to tell you tonight is only beginning. And what I have realized recently has left me thinking about my son in a way I never expected. My son is in trouble. Not the kind of trouble people will write articles about. Not the kind of trouble that creates headlines. Not the kind of trouble that can be solved by technology, money, influence, or success. The kind of trouble I am talking about is much quieter than that. It lives in the spaces between conversations. It hides behind smiles. It sits beside a person when the day is over and nobody else is there. And if you stay with me tonight, I want to tell you why a mother like me has been carrying this concern deep inside her heart for longer than anyone realizes. Because what I am about to share is not only about my son, it is about love. It is about loneliness. It is about the things we never say out loud. And before we go any further, I want to ask you something from the deepest part of my heart. If you believe genuine love still exists in this world, please leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you enjoy these quiet conversations that come straight from a mother's heart. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are right now. Because I truly love knowing who is sitting with me during moments like this. Share this message with someone you care about, because there may be another heart out there that needs these words tonight. And as we continue, I hope you will stay until the end and share your thoughts because your voice matters more than you know. You see, people often assume that successful people have everything. They imagine beautiful homes. They imagine exciting lives. They imagine opportunities and accomplishments. They imagine confidence. But very few people stop to ask a simple question. Who comforts them when they are hurting? Who listens when they are exhausted? Who notices when they are carrying too much? Who reminds them that they are human? As a mother, those are the questions that keep me awake. Not because I doubt my son's strength. Quite the opposite. I know how strong he is, perhaps stronger than most people realize. But sometimes, strength becomes its own burden. Sometimes the people who appear strongest are actually the people who receive the least support. Everyone assumes they will be fine. Everyone assumes they do not need help. Everyone assumes they can carry one more responsibility, one more challenge, one more disappointment, one more sacrifice, until one day they are carrying more than anyone should. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever been the person everyone depended on while secretly wishing someone would ask if you were okay? Have you ever smiled for the people around you while hiding your own pain? Have you ever felt exhausted but continued moving forward because you believed stopping was not an option? If you have, then perhaps you understand my son better than most. When he was younger, I could see the curiosity in his eyes. There was always a fire inside him, a desire to understand things, a desire to solve problems, a desire to build something meaningful. And as the years passed, that fire only grew stronger. But there is something people do not always understand about ambitious people. Their dreams often come with sacrifices. The world celebrates what they create. The world applauds their achievements. The world admires their determination. But very few people notice what they have given up along the way. Very few people notice the loneliness. Very few people notice the missed moments. Very few people notice how often they place everyone else's needs before their own. And that is where my concern begins. Because every mother eventually realizes that no matter how old her child becomes, part of her heart will always belong to them. A mother never stops worrying. A mother never stops hoping. A mother never stops praying that her child finds peace, not temporary happiness, not excitement, not success, peace. The kind of peace that comes from being deeply loved, the kind of peace that comes from knowing someone genuinely cares, the kind of peace that allows a person to finally relax and say, I do not have to face everything alone. Tell me something honestly. Do you think people are lonelier today than they were years ago? I often wonder about that. We have more ways to communicate than ever before. Phones, messages, social media, video calls. Yet somehow, many people feel more disconnected. Many people go through entire days without experiencing a meaningful conversation. Many people fall asleep, wondering if anyone truly understands them. Many people wake up carrying invisible sadness that nobody else sees. And sometimes I wonder how many women listening to me right now understand exactly what I mean. Perhaps you spent years caring for others. Perhaps you raised children. Perhaps you stood beside someone through difficult times. Perhaps you gave your love freely and received very little in return. Perhaps you know what it feels like to pour from your own cup until there is almost nothing left. If that is true, then I want you to know something. Your ability to love is extraordinary. The world often overlooks quiet kindness. The world celebrates loud achievements. But kindness changes lives. Compassion changes lives. Loyalty changes lives. Love changes lives. And that is why I find myself thinking about the kind of woman who might one day stand beside my son. Not because I am searching for perfection. Perfection does not exist. Not because I am searching for someone famous. Fame is meaningless when a person feels alone. Not because I am searching for someone impressive. Life eventually teaches us that character matters far more than appearances. What I hope for is much simpler. I hope for a woman with a kind heart. A woman who understands that real love requires patience. A woman who knows how to listen. A woman who values honesty. A woman who values honesty. They are built during difficult times. They are built during uncertainty. They are built when two people choose each other despite life's challenges. Do you believe that? Do you believe lasting love still exists? Or do you think modern relationships have become too complicated? I genuinely wonder about these things, because when I look around the world today, I see so many people searching for connection, searching for understanding, searching for someone who makes them feel safe. Not physically safe, emotionally safe, safe enough to be vulnerable, safe enough to share their fears, safe enough to reveal the parts of themselves they normally keep hidden, and perhaps that is the trouble my son is facing. Not a public struggle, not a financial struggle, not a professional struggle, a human struggle, the same struggle millions of people face every day, the struggle of carrying responsibility without always having someone beside you to share the weight, the struggle of being needed by everyone while secretly needing someone yourself, the struggle of appearing strong even when you feel tired. As a mother, I see it. Maybe others do not. Maybe they only see success. Maybe they only see confidence. Maybe they only see the public image. But mothers notice things. We notice changes in a voice. We notice changes in energy. We notice changes in silence. And sometimes silence says more than words ever could. There have been moments when I looked at my son and thought about all the years behind him, the victories, the disappointments, the sacrifices, the pressure, the expectations, the endless responsibilities, and I found myself asking a question that broke my heart. Who is taking care of him? Who is making sure he remembers that he is more than his accomplishments? Who is reminding him that he deserves happiness too? Who is reminding him that being loved is not something he must earn? You know, the older I become, the more I understand something important. Life moves faster than we expect. One day you are young and making plans. The next day you are looking back at decades of memories. You remember faces, conversations, moments, people who changed your life. And eventually you realize that love was always the most important part. Not money, not status, not recognition. Love. Because at the end of everything, what remains are the people who cared, the people who stayed, the people who loved us when we needed it most. And lately, there is one realization that keeps returning to my heart. A realization so powerful that it has completely changed the way I think about my son's future. Because I have started to understand that the help he needs may not come from where anyone expects. And when I finally understood what that help truly was, I sat quietly for a very long time, wondering whether the woman who could change everything might already be listening to these words tonight. Sometimes a mother knows something before she can explain it. There are moments when a feeling settles into your heart and refuses to leave. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. You cannot prove it. Yet somehow, you know it is real. That is exactly how I have felt lately. I keep thinking about my son, not the version of him the world sees, not the version people discuss online, not the version attached to headlines and achievements. I keep thinking about the human being behind all of that. The son I have watched grow, the son I have worried about, the son I have loved every single day of his life. And the more I think about him, the more I realize something that many people never understand until much later in life. The heart does not care about status. The heart does not care about titles. The heart does not care about accomplishments. The heart only cares about connection. It only cares about feeling understood. It only cares about feeling loved. Have you ever spent an entire day surrounded by people and still felt completely alone? I think many women know exactly what that feels like, especially women who spent years taking care of others. Women who became mothers. Women who became wives. Women who became caregivers. Women who carried responsibilities so naturally that everyone forgot they needed care too. Sometimes I wonder if you are one of those women. Sometimes I wonder if you know exactly what it feels like to be strong for everyone, while quietly wishing someone would be strong for you. Because strength can become exhausting. People admire strong people, but very few people ask them how they are doing. Very few people stop and say, "You do not have to carry everything alone." Very few people notice when their smile becomes heavier. Very few people notice when their eyes become tired. Very few people notice when their heart needs comfort. That is why I keep returning to the same thought. My son does not need more success. He does not need more attention. He does not need more recognition. What he needs is something far more valuable. He needs someone who sees him, truly sees him. Not what he has built, not what he owns, not what he represents. Him, the human being, the man, the person behind the public image. And perhaps that sounds simple. But finding that kind of connection is one of the hardest things in the world, because genuine love is rare. Real love requires patience. Real love requires understanding. Real love requires two people who are willing to look beyond appearances and see each other's hearts. Do you know what I find most beautiful about love? It is not the beginning. Most people think the beginning is the most beautiful part. The excitement, the butterflies, the anticipation, the endless conversations. Those things are wonderful, but they are not what impresses me anymore. What impresses me is what happens later. What happens when life becomes difficult? What happens when someone is struggling? What happens when disappointment enters the room? What happens when fear appears? What happens when uncertainty arrives? That is when true love reveals itself. Because true love stays. True love listens. True love supports. True love remains present, even when things are not easy. And lately I have found myself wondering if there is a woman somewhere who still believes in that kind of love. A woman who understands that relationships are not built on perfection. They are built on commitment. A woman who understands that every person carries wounds. Every person carries fears. Every person carries insecurities. And every person needs compassion. Tell me honestly, what do you think makes a relationship last? Is it trust? Is it friendship? Is it loyalty? Is it patience? Or is it something else entirely? I ask because the older I become, the more I realize that lasting love is not created through grand moments. It is created through ordinary moments repeated over time. A conversation at the end of a difficult day, a reassuring touch during uncertainty. A kind word when someone feels discouraged. A reminder that they are not facing life alone. Those moments seem small, but they are not. They are everything. When I think about my son, I often think about those moments. I think about how different life becomes when someone has a true partner. Not someone who only celebrates victories. A true partner. Someone who remains present during challenges. Someone who believes in you when you begin doubting yourself. Someone who helps you carry burdens instead of adding more. Someone who creates peace. Peace is such an underrated gift. People chase excitement. People chase adventure. People chase endless stimulation. Yet when they become older, many discover something surprising. What they wanted most was peace. Someone who feels like home. Someone whose presence calms the storms inside them. Someone who makes life feel less heavy. And perhaps that is why my heart keeps returning to this subject. Because I have watched so many people spend decades searching for happiness while overlooking the importance of emotional safety. Do you know what emotional safety feels like? It feels like being accepted. It feels like being understood. It feels like being able to tell the truth about your fears without worrying that someone will leave. It feels like being able to rest, truly rest. And I wonder how many people listening right now are secretly longing for that. How many people are carrying silent loneliness? How many people are pretending they are fine? How many people wish they had someone who genuinely understood them? If that is you, please know that you are not alone. There are more people carrying those feelings than you realize. The world has become very good at hiding pain. People post smiles, people share achievements, people display their happiest moments, but rarely do they reveal their loneliness. Rarely do they reveal their fears. Rarely do they reveal the tears they cry when nobody else is watching. And that is why conversations like this matter. Because honesty matters, vulnerability matters, connection matters, love matters. You know, there is something I have noticed throughout my life. The people who seem the strongest are often the people who need kindness the most. The people who carry the heaviest responsibilities are often the people who receive the least comfort. The people who help everyone else are often the people nobody thinks to help. That realization has stayed with me. It has followed me for years, and lately it has become impossible to ignore. Because every time I think about my son, I keep asking myself the same question. Who is helping him carry the emotional weight of his journey? Who is making sure he feels appreciated? Who is reminding him that he matters beyond what he accomplishes? Who is helping him protect his heart? These questions may seem simple, but they are not. A person's emotional well-being shapes everything. It affects how they think, how they feel, how they experience life, how they love, how they dream, how they heal, and perhaps that is why I feel compelled to speak openly tonight. Not because I have all the answers, I certainly do not, but because I believe many women understand something powerful. They understand the healing effect of genuine love. They understand the importance of encouragement. They understand the value of emotional support. They understand that kindness can transform a person's life. And if you are one of those women, then perhaps you understand exactly what I am trying to say. Perhaps you understand why a mother worries. Perhaps you understand why a mother hopes. Perhaps you understand why a mother never stops dreaming about her child's happiness. The truth is that I do not dream about extraordinary things for my son anymore. When I was younger, perhaps I did. Like many parents, I imagined achievements, success, accomplishments, recognition. But age changes your perspective. Age teaches you what truly matters. Now my dreams are much simpler. I dream about peace. I dream about companionship. I dream about laughter shared at the end of long days. I dream about someone looking at my son and loving him for who he is rather than what he has done. I dream about him feeling understood. I dream about him feeling appreciated. I dream about him feeling genuinely loved. And lately, something has been happening that I cannot ignore. A feeling, a realization, a quiet thought that keeps returning, no matter how hard I try to dismiss it. Because I am beginning to believe that the person capable of bringing that kind of love into his life may be much closer than anyone realizes. Closer than I ever imagined, closer than he realizes, closer than even she realizes. And the reason I believe that has everything to do with a story that changed the way I see love forever. If you have stayed with me until this moment, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tonight was never just about my son. It was never just about one family. It was never just about one story. It was about something much deeper. It was about the love we all search for, the love that makes difficult days easier. The love that gives us strength when we feel weak. The love that reminds us we are not alone, even when life becomes overwhelming. As I sit here reflecting on everything we have talked about, I keep coming back to one simple truth. No matter how successful a person becomes, no matter how much they achieve, no matter how far they travel in life, every heart still longs for the same thing: to be understood, to be valued, to be loved for who they truly are. And perhaps that is why I shared these thoughts with you tonight. Because I believe there are still good people in this world. I believe there are still women with kind hearts. Women who understand loyalty. Women who understand compassion. Women who understand that the most beautiful relationships are built not on perfection, but on patience, trust, and genuine care. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening.